Hello, everyone. It is Monday, July 20th. Welcome to another episode of Together San Diego. I'm your host, Luis Cruz, Community Relations Director for the San Diego Union-Tribune. Joining me this afternoon is Public Relations Specialist Ling Nazar. Ling also has a master's degree in youth and family and has served as a diversity facilitator for students. And also joining us is Kelli Gillespie. Kelli is the editor-in-chief of the national magazine publication Risen, and is also an entertainment reporter for KFMB News 8 Morning Extra. Ling and Kelli are also co-founders of a Family Entourage. I don't know how you have time to do it, but I am so happy you've made time to be with me this afternoon.
Thank you. Yes, this is a topic that's near and dear to our hearts. And the more we talk about it, the more we realize how we would, our heart is just to help other parents and families as they might be trying to navigate this topic.
Yes. So you're both parents. And so this afternoon, we want to talk about racism and how to talk about what's going on in the world with your family in age-appropriate ways. Ling, you say it's important to create a space to talk about race. What do you mean by that? And how do we do that?
Yeah, I think especially with everything going on in the world right now, it's on our news feeds, it's in our social media, and so we kind of can't avoid it. And so it's a great opportunity to be proactive as a family, to start talking about those things as a family. And it might seem kind of awkward at first, but it's great to kind of create a designated time to have that discussion as a family, whether it's monthly or weekly, and set aside time. I say create a safe environment so that way everyone knows that they can ask a question and not feel criticized or judged. Share experiences that might happen to them and feel like they can share that, and it's a safe environment. I think one of my favorite experiences was working at this kids camp for 8 summers with inner city kids, and that's really where my peers and my colleagues that I worked alongside said, Ling, that's not a dumb question, you can ask it. And so being able to have that, being able to have those dialogues. So you want to create that atmosphere in your family for sure. And like I said, it is something that you're going to have to be proactive with, because it's not something that we talk about naturally, right? It's almost been taboo for so long.
Right. Can you suggest some resources to go ahead and do that?
Yes, I think there's a great book out. It's called This Book is Anti-Racist. It's a New York Times bestseller. And I love it because it has 20 practical ways of things that families can do together. And it's very guided. There's discussion questions. There's things, one of the first chapters is for you as a family, or you can also do this as a group of friends, to decide what the terms are and what they mean to you, because somebody might think one thing is racist and another person might have another definition of racism. And so you kind of create that playing field. And then there's other fun things too. You're coming up with a comic book storyline as a family of these superheroes, and your family's the superheroes of how you're fighting oppression and racism together as a family. So again, it's very practical, and that's why I like it, because I think sometimes we're at a loss of the questions to ask or things to do, but the way the author has put this together is very great for not just families, but I think once people go back to the classroom, it's great for educators. Our site, if you go to familyentourage.com, we link back to, there's a whole bunch of free resources for families and for educators that go along with the book too.
All right. And Kelli, much of your career has been spent as a film critic. How have you seen movies spark meaningful conversation, especially around the events currently unfolding? Here's a picture of you with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, and Richard Roundtree there, and Jesse Usher. So yeah, for me, true stories or stories that are inspired by actual events are my absolute favorite films to explore. I mean, you're people at home are probably thinking a white blonde girl from San Diego is having a race conversation. But yes, it's important. I don't understand a lot, and I need to. And that oftentimes can come through film, because you're getting the opportunity to see how somebody endured something, how somebody overcame something, the steps that it took for that individual to become who they are because of what they went through. And so hopefully you'll watch films like The Great Debaters or The Queen of Cotley, and you'll see, a rallied group of debaters, or you'll see chess change a young girl's life and you'll be inspired. Or you'll watch something like Selma, where David Oyelowo brilliantly played Martin Luther King Jr. Or you'll see something like The Last King of Scotland, and and maybe you'll be called to action. You'll say, what can I do? How can I make a difference in these narratives? And then you'll watch something like Fruitvale Station, or you'll watch something like Just Mercy or Detroit, and you'll feel uncomfortable. And you'll say, man, this makes me angry. How is this still happening? How are these not just stories that are told from the 1960s, but, you know, they're still going on today? And so I think that those are important conversations to have. It's important for you to see it through somebody else's eyes. And then when I get the opportunity to talk with the cast, it's a unique position that I'm in, getting to interview them. But just in March, I got the chance to go to Memphis, Tennessee, to the National Civil Rights Museum, which shares ground with the Lorraine Motel, of course, where Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And this was for the premiere of The Banker. And Anthony Mackie and Samuel L. Jackson both talked about race and how that plays within decisions that they make. Anthony went as far to tell me, and I can't even believe that racism happens within race, because Anthony went as far to tell me that, you know, he went in for a casting audition and they said, you're not really Black because you went to Juilliard. What? Like, how do you process that? So I think it's important that the actors are having the conversations, the films that we're watching are having these conversations. And, you know, speaking of Detroit, one of the ones that, you know, is most recognizable on our blog is Tyler James Williams, who, of course, was best known when he was younger for Everybody Hates Chris, but he was in Detroit, and his father was a New York City police officer for 22 years. And he got to sit down before he did the film and say, Dad, what did you know about these riots? What are we learning? And unfortunately, these are the same conversations that we're having this summer. So I feel like film can be a really powerful way to delve into material and to see it from a different perspective, and then more importantly, have those conversations.
Right, right. I mean, Ling, you suggest people be proactive about learning about people that have helped shape our history. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, I think so often we look to the Martin Luther King or the Rosa Parks, and that's what's taught at school. But why not take it a step deeper, right? There's so many people that have helped shape our history and that are integral for us to learn about when it comes to racism. A great thing is, like Kelli was saying, start with the movies. But then another thing that we love to do in our family is to take what the kids are passionate about, or take their interests, and then look at the people that are helping shape that. That series it's called Extraordinary Lives, and you know, it's got, our kids are all about SpaceX right now. So we've been looking at Katherine Johnson and the contributions that she made. This is all from Extraordinary Lives. Another great one is this Amazing Women book by Kane Miller. And again, my daughter loves dancing, and so looking at Misty Copeland's story. So they have a group of innovators, young activists, all these different things, and it's all over the world. It's not just the United States. So those are great resources for kids. But again, take what your kids are passionate about. It could be a hobby, it could be a sport, and dive deeper with them and study the people that have helped shape that. And they get a deeper appreciation that goes beyond why we celebrate Martin Luther King.
Right, right. And Kelli, you say another thing that you suggest is to teach your children there's beauty in color and celebrate differences. What kind of resources do you suggest for that?
Okay, so I don't know about you, but when you were a kid, Louise, and you were going to color a picture of yourself, you know, we maybe had 4 things to pick from, like a peach, an apricot, a tan, brown. But what I love that Faber-Castell is doing is they have a whole line that is World of Color, or World Colors. And so it's showing us how we can draw ourselves. Check out this color wheel. So you hold it up to your skin tone and you match it, and then using their pencils, you can blend those together. It was created with a makeup artist so that they were able to achieve more different
That's very cool.
and colors. And they even have a kit on how to draw faces, because not all faces look the same, and that's amazing and beautiful. We all have 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth. May's kids drew themselves. And
I love that.
Great.
That's great. That is so awesome.
Yeah. And one of the things too is not just, you know, physical art, but spoken word. There's this great book that Flying Eye has out. It's called Freedom We Sing. And the author, actually, Amira Leon, has online, she reads through it and, you know, just has these beautiful images as it's talking about these bigger conversations that we need to have as families. What does freedom mean? What does that look like? A mother is saying this to her child. and we're able to go through this story together. And again, spark conversation.
All right.
Like it just goes back to creating that atmosphere where your family and your group of friends can talk about these things, and you want to ignite that curiosity within your kids and in yourself. Like, I've enjoyed reading these books alongside my kids and doing these things with my kids, and I'm learning so much, alongside them. And I've had some unique experiences, that I've gotten to share with them along the way. A couple years back, I had the opportunity to train 100 middle school students for their meeting with Nobel Peace Prize winner Bishop Desmond Tutu. Mm-hmm. And it was such a unique experience. But we used a lot of these principles that we're talking about today with you, of creating that safe environment. You have 100 fifth graders who are already nervous about talking to each other. Then they're from different schools, they're from different socioeconomic groups, they're different races, different religions, and we're doing all these activities. And so one of the biggest things was creating a safe space. But then doing so was also helping them to see the similarities that they have with one another. And I think that's a big thing when we're talking about race, is a lot of times it's an us versus them. What's different between, everyone? And it becomes almost like it builds a gap between us. But we want to work towards building a bridge. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we can talk about as a family or with our group of friends is, what do we have in common? I love sports. I think sports is a great common denominator and a great way to start conversation. But also with kids, we love this series. It's so fun. It's Little People, Big Dreams. And it's the idea, everybody started out as a kid. And so you have, Martin Luther King, you have Jesse Owens, you have all these different great stories of all these world leaders and the things that they did. But what was their life like when they were a little kid, and what made them become who they are? And so, that's been fun. My little guy loves the Bruce Lee story. He's like, can we read that karate one again?
That's awesome. And Kelli, you say it's important to teach kids to express their feelings and have empathy for others. What are some ways to role play or practice expressing feelings?
Well, the idea of feelings is so hard in itself for kids to grasp, especially littles. My kids are 5 and 1. So the idea of, what does it feel like to be angry? How do I act when I'm joyful? What does it mean to be sad? And is that okay? There's a great book called In My Heart, A Book of Feelings by Abrams Kids. And it walks you through first identifying what feelings are. This is my heart's exploding. It goes boom. This is what happens, when I'm feeling excited about something, or this is, how I feel when I'm hurt. And I think the first conversation is identifying what are those feelings, and then that your feelings can affect others and what that looks like, and kind of make it more play-based. So there's a great series, and they're called emoji blocks. And I love this because they look different, right? We've got blonde hair, we've got brown hair, we've got angry faces and happy faces. But what helps kids recognize is they see a child that looks like them, and this child is frightened, and it's in several different languages. And then you create, well, what does this child look like? Okay, well, she has brown hair, and this one has glasses, and this child's really happy. So, okay, let's find the pieces. And now you're having a conversation that's fun about building off of emotions. And then you sit down and you say, honey, when have you felt hurt? Do people ever hurt your feelings at school? Or have you seen somebody else cry? Did you go up and talk to the person who made them cry and say, that's not okay? Why are we doing that? We should be having these conversations and then giving them the tools and empowering them to be able to be brave enough to stand up in a situation, correct a situation, or be the one that's going in there and including another person that doesn't necessarily look exactly like them or have the same likes. They like a different sport. At that age, it's, you don't like as many Legos or the right superhero. So saying everyone's included.
All right. Now, you both say it's important to introduce and befriend people of different ethnicities. How do you suggest parents go about doing that?
It starts with the parents, and it starts in the home, because the kids, if I just stick to my, the only people that look like me, then my kids will probably only have friends that look like them. And so again, you're gonna have to be proactive about it. But the way I suggest people doing it is start small, right? Start with start with the barista, the mailman. I mean, right now we're in COVID, so it looks a little bit different, right? My kids are like yelling at the Amazon guy, hey! And teach just general basic principles. Look someone in the eye. If you're able to shake their hand, introduce yourself. And that's how you start to get to know people. I just always think of this conversation that I had with someone, and she said to me, Mei-Ling, you make it a point to say hi to everyone. And I was just really blown away by that. I was like, what? And she said, yeah, you talk to the nannies at the park. Most of them are from another country. You talk to all the landscapers in the neighborhood. And I said, well, what makes them different from me? And she just paused and she kind of looked at me and she said, that's us. And I said, I might live in a different zip code. I said, but if I think, again, going back to what we have in common, those similarities, I'm a daughter of an immigrant. I'm a daughter of two very hardworking parents. So I know probably what they're going through in that sense. I grew up nannying for families. My husband, he grew up doing yard work for other families in his neighborhood. So if we go back to that and we find those commonalities, then it helps us broaden our friendship circle. But again, we have to model that as parents. For us, it was so fun. We get to take our kids to junkets and media events and things like that. And our kids were so stoked to go to the Lego Ninjago thing, to the Lego Ninjago press event. And they got to meet Michael Pena. But again, we practice that principle. Let's go around and meet everyone. Let's meet all of the actors. Let's meet the people, though, that are working hard behind the scenes, the production coordinators, because no one person is better than another person.
All right. Well, I am jealous. You're also said to inspire your kids to express themselves. How should we do that?
So one of the things that I think is very interesting is, we hear a lot about young girls getting bombarded with beauty messages, having to live up to this unrealistic expectation of what beauty is, size, color, and shades. But we also see it in clothing. And, my girl, she loves a good full tulle skirt, and we love princesses. But, Mei-Ling and I are both entrepreneurs, and we're strong women, and we want to be raising our daughters to look up to trailblazers. And so we love this line by Piccolina, and they have a Trailblazers series. So you can wear a shirt with Marie Curie. You can wear a shirt with Amelia Earhart. You can have Harriet Tubman proudly displayed on your chest. And on top of that, it also makes it fun and stylish to delve into other aspects. So, unicorns and rainbows, they're fun, but I want my daughter to wear a geometry dress. I want them to think chemistry is cool. I want them to wear airplanes and say, where can I travel to? I want to experience a different culture and know that that's okay and that they can wear that as a young girl and be proud. And you're hard pressed to find very many brands and lines of clothing that actually are doing that for women. Hidden Figures and so forth are great films that are inspiring young women to broaden what their occupation can be.
Right. The two of you co-founded Family Entourage. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we started it, we knew each other from being in media for years, and we had our kiddos around the same time, and everyone kept telling us, you guys need to share what you do and how you do it with others. And at the bottom line, we believe that the entourage is the most important, the family is the most important entourage that you can have. And so we share different tips and resources for parents, alongside interviewing our favorite celebrities and what they're doing with their family and the parenting scene as well.
And along with, as we're having the race conversation, families are all the same at the end of the day too. And so that's one of the things we wanted to bring celebrity into it, because, whether people want to embrace it or not, they are some of our biggest influencers of the day. And we wanted to show they have the same struggles when it comes to potty training. They have the same struggles when it comes to not wanting to yell at their children, or how do you discipline them and get them to do what you want. I love hearing Russell Crowe walking me through his bedtime routine with his kids, to know that they're hands-on, because you have to be as a parent. You have to be in order to raise amazing contributors to our society, whether that's a diversity conversation, whether that's a structure and discipline conversation, or whether that's a think outside the box, dream as big as you can conversation. We want to be having all of those, and we thought that this would be a great platform for people to not only see it coming directly from celebrities' lives, but then to also kind of stumble through it as we are, because we're by no means experts. Our kiddos are still young, but we're learning something every day.
Yes. Well, let's see. One of our viewers says, awesome information. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for bringing us these resources because, as you mentioned, you know, a lot of times it is difficult to start these conversations, but they're important conversations to have. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think if, you know, again, if people head to our website, familyentourage.com, they can get look at the resources or look at the books that we kind of pulled together that are a great place to start for families. A lot of these groupings have free activities, free discussion guides, which we think is a great resource, especially as we head into this online learning, you know, new season of life.
And ask questions. Let your kids ask a ton of questions. If you don't know the answer, don't make it up. Say, you know what, that's a great question. Mommy needs to know more about that too. And turn to Google. You know, I've learned so much by just looking something up and educating myself a little bit more so that I can have a better informed conversation with my kids, because that's what it all comes down to. The more we know, the more that we can implement in them. And then the more that we can just understand that we're all in this together. And the only way it's going to get better is if we individually choose to do something with our sphere of influence to make their lives better.
Right, definitely. Well, thank you very much, Ling, Nazar, and Kelli Gillespie for all this great advice. You're going to be back next Monday to talk to us about how we can overcome some of the challenges of online learning. So
we've got this. We can do this together.
I'm looking forward to that as well. Thank you both, and thank you at home for watching. Have a great day and have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.